there, everyone. Welcome back into the Pulse on Technology here on the PulseNetwork.com. I am your host, Tyler Pyburn. Now, obviously, everybody is talking about the breaking news, not the breaking news, but the news in general. Oh, yes, indeed, the brand new iPad. Now, call it what you want, the iPad 3, the iPad HD, the new iPad. Well, guess what? Everybody's buzzing about it. Now, here to talk a little bit more about it is, obviously, just one of our regular experts here as part of the Pulse on Technology Army, if you will. We welcome in Eric Lundquist of Information Week. Eric, how you doing?
You could call me Mr. iPad. No, you could. You know, you're totally right in that this is what the news has been about, and it's amazing for someone who covers enterprise computing, the old, the B2B computing, how much the tablets and the iPad has really made its way into companies right now. The iPad 3 really continues that progression.
Now, I was going to say, we've continued to talk about this candidly, off camera. Not all of our conversations take place right here, but we continue to talk about the evolution of the tablet in particular. And we heard so often, prior to the tablets, we heard about, some of these computers, these tablet computers that are going to be, just based in smart computers. But you know what? The tablet, especially the iPad, seems to be a mainstay now. It doesn't seem like it's just a fad. It seems to be continuing to grow and get stronger.
Well, that's what's happening, and it's amazing because it's come into the companies through people going out and buying them and bringing them. This is not the old, hey, we're going to give you here's your new laptop, which is really 8 years old and belonged to three people before you. And it's sort of come in so fast that companies don't know quite how to handle it, what to do with it, how to make sure it's secure, how to keep it on the network. And more, what's the content that's supposed to be on it? So it's a really dramatic shift in business computing right now. This whole, even more so than the smartphone. I think the tablets, it's just a different way of interacting and a different way of operating, and companies quite haven't figured out what that's supposed to be yet.
Now, what I'm wondering right now, we've seen the different price points of the brand new iPad coming out between, $600, $700, $800, depending on which size you actually want to go with. But I always wonder at this point in time, are we releasing them too soon right now? And is there that much of a difference between, the original iPad then the iPad 2, just a front-facing camera? But for the enterprise, what's going to make them want to go out and drop $650, $700 on this new iPad 3, if you will?
Well, maybe the biggest part of the iPad 3 announcement is the iPad 2, of which I have a demonstration model right here. This is
He's
the
doing
iPad
his best
2.
Vanna White impression.
I use the 2. I actually use it with a case that has a keyboard attached to it because I'm still a keyboarder at some point.
Absolutely.
Zag makes it. Is that when they came out with the iPad 3, they dropped the price on the iPad 2. So the iPad 2 right now is a very approachable price point to come in, putting more pressure on the Kindles out there, the Android machines out there, the Galaxy machines out there. So maybe one of the biggest stories is that the iPad really is a family at this point, and you can go from 2. I will say the iPad 3, I think it sort of sets a new a style of computing, where the iPad 2 was all about consuming content. You'd go in and you'd swipe stuff, and you could look at it and publish stuff. Now they've added so much internal memory capacity. They put a much faster processor in it, and they've started to add a networking, and beyond just the Wi-Fi networking. They've added, you can sign up through AT&T or through Verizon for packages. Absolutely. So it becomes much more of a complete computing package where you can actually produce content and drive it out yourself. And that is a big change in terms of how tablets are going to be used in companies.
Well, that's one thing that's important to note because, we continue to hear it, obviously, here at the Pulse, that we're basically preaching to people saying, every company at this point in time has become a media company. They're all creating content. And, we never saw that with someone with their big desktop walking around creating, content of their own. But now we are, in fact, seeing that. And this is enabling them not only to be a media company, but every person is then creating content inside and underneath that one brand.
Well, they're calling it the iPad huddle. Now, there's a Google huddle, but this is when 5 people sort of get around the water cooler or in the coffee room, and they all have their iPads out. Maybe they're building a presentation, or they're coming up with some sort of sales strategy, and they're all doing it on their iPad. Now, the second part of this, and this is for nerds only, if you're not a nerd, you can tune out for a second. The networks, the corporate networks, never really designed for people being quite so mobile. When you go in a company, you get Wi-Fi really good in one place, and then you go that sort of black hole of there's no Wi-Fi. That's sort of okay with a smartphone. It's not with a tablet. You want really strong connectivity all the time. So now you're having the networks, the corporate networks, have to catch up with what this iPad is. Just
Absolutely.
as companies have to totally catch up with what's the content that's going to be on this. How do you interact with people? How does Tyler and Eric, what are we huddling with when we go pull our iPads out?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing I want to kind of touch upon is everybody will look at this and say, what about the marketplace? Now, what does this really mean for the marketplace right now? Because obviously, I believe about 33% of folks out there with tablets have the Fire, have the Kindle of some sort.
Yeah.
And then, there's about just a couple of percent that people are jumping on board with maybe the little Samsungs or so on and so forth. Apple's got this thing cornered right now, huh?
Well, this whole thing they talked about in the iPad 3, this Retina display, which I haven't used, but the resolution becomes so you can't distinguish pixels. So they're trying to do a technology leap in terms of the display. And it's really something that it's not just a competitor for the Kindle in that. They're saying now it's like reading a magazine. The magazine is there.
It
the
is.
Photos, it's not like pixelated. You can't tell that it's not a printed page. So I do think, Apple's job is to always sort of outdistance the competition in big technology leaps. I've got the iPad 2. I use it a lot. I've come to like it a lot. It took me a little time.
Yeah.
But I'm ready to try out the 3.
Okay, I was going to say, before I let you go,
So if you give me a credit card, Tyler, we can order one right now.
$600, I don't know, let's buy a couple, Yumi. So let me ask you that. Have they made enough improvements for you, as someone that has the 2, to want to go out and buy the 3?
I'd have to use it. I think
Yeah.
that there's things that I really like about the concept behind the 3, the always-on connectivity, just the faster speed. People always like faster speed. Mm-hmm. The Retina display, it's just like this cool idea. I just want to see what it looks like. Also, when they came out with the 3, they added a bunch of either updated apps or new apps they put into it. GarageBand was updated. iPhoto was updated. So, they do what they're supposed to do in technology. I want to try it. If I try it, I'm going to want to buy it.
He's not going to let it go. You're going to see him walking around the streets of the United States with nothing but the iPad 3 in his head. Excellent stuff. He is Eric Lundquist of Information Week. I am Tyler Pyburn of the Pulse Network. Another great conversation right here on the Pulse on Technology. Have a good one.